Hi Facebook friends. Well, it's been a few days since I've been on live, and I wanted to do a bit of a wrap up of our Making New Neural Pathways series and also give you a mindfulness exercise to use. We'll do that part at the end. So I wanted to just share too that one of the reasons why I waited a number of days before I did another live is mostly because I've been taking care of myself. So I just want to encourage that too. I was thinking about it as I was about to turn the video on. I was thinking about how making new neural pathways, as we all are, because we're experiencing new situations, you may notice more energy being used. And I'm in this same situation as you all are in. So I've noticed that for myself too, that some days I need a little extra care and love than maybe I do in what we might have called, normal life. We've been using in some of the groups that I'm in a new word, and I think, or words, and just saying that we're moving into a new normal, and that everything that we might have called our normal before has a chance to shift and change and grow. So as we have talked about the whole person, I think today what I'll do is just kind of review what that looks like. As a reminder, we have been just looking at ourselves as a whole person as we are being offered this opportunity during lots of changes and shifts to look at maybe old ways of doing things and even have the opportunity to choose new ways of doing things, which would create new pathways in the brain for your messages to run along. So I think that it's a very exciting time for us, as well as at times it may feel many other things like we've talked about. We might feel some stress during this time. We might even feel some sadness during this time. There's real things going on around us that, that might concern us. So we might feel some worry at this time. And we've talked about a lot of different exercises that we can use to honor those feelings. So I think I just wanted to spend just a few moments reminding you of our gingerbread man, or showing you, if you haven't seen it already, our gingerbread man or woman. And this is how we talked about our visualization of ourselves as a whole person. So we had our physical body, and that was the whole physical body, both outside and inside. We talked about our mental body, our thoughts. We talked about our emotional body. We put it at the heart, which was both our feelings and our general emotional state. And you might remember that the feelings come and go just like waves. The emotional state is almost like the undercurrent that might be pulling you no matter what the feelings are throughout the day. And while the emotional state gets set in at times, you can also change it. We do that partially by being mindful of the feelings that come up, so we can look at them, release them, honor them, look at them, release them. We also talked about our intuitive self, and I also called this your true self, your spiritual self, and that this part of ourselves is always guiding us. And one of the ways it does that is with the emotions that we get, the feelings that we get. It's like our GPS that's pointing in us in a direction of things that are for our highest and best good. And then we have a choice of whether we follow that or not. And then finally we talked about, well, not finally, there's two more parts. We talked about our energetic self, both the inner aura around the body and the outer energy egg. And we talked a bit about caring for that whole self energetically, which can also begin to assist all these parts of us to function better. Our final spot that we talked about was our self-expression, the way that we show up in the world. And there's so many different ways that we can do that, right? We can do that through using our voice. We can do that through creating something, which doesn't have to be like a piece of artwork. It could also be how you express through making dinner for your family each night. So there's so many ways that we can come into caring for our whole self. As we are paying more attention to the thoughts that come up for ourselves, because we've been practicing mindfulness during all of these videos, I've given you a little bit of a mindful exercise in each time. It's one of my favorite ways to notice the things that come up and just be curious so that I can decide what I want to keep and what I want to let go of. And we've talked about gratitude exercises to put us into the moment. We've talked about the disco ball, which was putting it around ourselves energetically to keep us in our peace if things are troubling us. And we talked a little bit about some of the paintings I had that were just representations of keeping our receptors open to new things and new growth. And we also just talked generally about what neural pathways were. So we've covered a lot of territory during these talks. Today, what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about mindful movement, which is a way that you can use your body and move your body. And it's one of my favorite ways to be mindful, actually. And today I'm going to give us an exercise that uses all of these parts of ourselves, pretty much all of them, to come into listening to that intuitive self within. So let's talk a little bit about mindful movement. I've mentioned it when I talked about the physical body and how important it is for us to move the body, especially during times that we might have more emotional energy going on. It helps to move it out. I am, this is a little bit about me too, that I share sometimes. I am a very active person. I have been, I'm pretty sure, my entire life. I enjoy moving a lot, and I find that for me, the physical body, like I told you in past videos, the physical body was like my entry point into understanding myself as a whole person and listening more deeply within. I came in through the physical practice of yoga for the physical benefits. That's the whole way it started for me. And then I began to listen and listen and listen more deeply, and it assisted me to improve really in all areas of my life. I think my pup's gonna visit us today too. Hey, Quinn. So mindful movement for me has been a way that I have learned to connect with my intuition that's deeper within. And one of the simplest ways, and I can't really show you because I would leave the video screen, but you can do this on your own. One of the simplest ways that I love to teach people is by taking very intentional, mindful walks. And the way that I like to present that is when you decide to go on your walk, and it could be a very short amount of time. I do it with kids and families sometimes for like 1 or 2 minutes. But those 2 minutes might feel very extended because you're noticing so much. Or for some people, they seem to snap by really quickly, and then their small mindful walk may turn into a 30-minute walk that they want to do for themselves. So how this goes, this is what I also call, and I'm preparing for a workshop this weekend that I call meditation in motion. Let me let my pup in the house. Go on. You want to go in? So I'm preparing for this workshop that I'm leading called Meditation in Motion, and this is one of the ways that, and one of the exercises that I'm going to talk about, but one of the ways that I've learned to tune in more to my body. So the way that you would start is really noticing for a moment and just identifying all your physical symptoms, not symptoms, all your physical senses. You may notice symptoms, you may notice sensations as one of your senses. So that is one of them. Like, notice that you will feel things with the physical body. That's sensation, okay? Or touch. We have smell, we have hearing, we have taste in our mouth, which is an interesting one to me because it's not something we pay attention to all the time. So we're really going to start by being very mindful of the whole physical body. So you're even going to pay attention to taste that might be in your mouth. Like if you'd had a drink or something to eat, you might have a leftover taste in your mouth. And let's see, what else did I miss? Eyes, seeing. So we have seeing, hearing, physical sensation, taste, and smell. So when you start your mindfulness walk, your mindful walking, what I like to do is start out slow, even do it without shoes on if it's comfortable for you. If you can do it outside, great. If for some reason you can't, you can always do it indoors and still get a great experience. Even if I just took and walked around my yard, what I'd like to do is walk very slow, feel how my body feels, hear what I'm hearing, smell anything I'm smelling, see what I'm seeing, and taste anything that's in my mouth. Then you might change your pace and go even deeper within. So when I first start noticing physical sensations, I always notice, how do my feet feel on the ground? It's one of my first ones. And you may notice big sounds first. Then when you start to tune in a little bit more, you may start to notice internal sensations, like how does my thigh muscle feel when I move and walk? How does that change? And you may start to notice sounds that you didn't notice before. A lot of times people start to notice like the hum of a air conditioner in their house if they're doing it inside. Or maybe you start to hear something distant if you're doing it outside. So what I find is we have layers of noticing. So we're going to start with the biggest layer. And then we're going to go in a little bit deeper to the physical noticing. And that's still with all our senses. Then your next step would be just to notice what feelings come up. So you have no feelings that day or at that moment, and that could happen. Or maybe you notice that you're feeling more peaceful, or maybe you notice that you have a little bit of a worry that's going on. So those would be feelings. And then you might notice if there's any thoughts going on. So maybe you are thinking about what you're hearing or seeing. Maybe you start to notice something more deeply. This morning I was teaching our yoga class. We do some Zoom yoga here on my patio. And I was looking and noticing that one of my plants had droplets on it from dew in the morning. And it was so beautiful to sit and notice. And actually I'm seeing that a few of them have dried because the plant's still here. So you might get really deeply focused on one point in your walking meditation, and maybe even stand for a moment and observe, or bend down and really look at that thing that you're seeing. Once you've noticed some of those thoughts, then as you move about, simply noticing your in and out breath. I notice myself breathing in, I notice myself breathing out. And finally, when you're coming so deeply in, maybe the last step to me is just to listen to what is coming up from that deeper spirit, intuitive part of myself that always knows the answers, that always knows the next step to share with me. And after that, it's just up to me to follow or not, because it's not right or wrong either way. You can't screw up life, even though it may feel like it sometimes. You may think that you've screwed up at times. We talked about forgiveness in some of the videos, and finding ahimsa, and more and more deep compassion with ourselves, and recognizing and realizing that we can choose to look at past situations that feel like mistakes, forgive ourselves for making them, for we know that we were doing the best we could do in that moment, yet also learn so that we can choose something new. And that's a lot about neural pathways, because I can't choose something new if I don't know that I have a pattern that I'm not enjoying. So the reason why I teach so much about mindfulness, and I'm sharing it with you again, is the more you notice from a state of observation and curiosity, releasing judgment, the more you just notice and you become what we often call in meditation and yoga, the observer or the seer. The more you do that, the more things come up, the more you can let them go, the more you can rest in the guidance of divinity, source, that intuitive inner voice that you have inside. And that's why I teach about mindfulness. I love it too, because mindfulness to me is something we're all doing anyways, and I might have mentioned this at one of the videos. We are putting our full mind on something much of the time. Sometimes for me, because of how I thought and the personality that I was really connected to back in my teens and early 20s, a lot of my mindfulness would have been on things I was worried about or concerned about. So that created a lot of stressful feelings for me. The feelings, if I can give you an example of what was going on, the feelings of stress, I couldn't get anything but more stressful feelings if I kept putting my mind and focus on things that I was worried about that I couldn't do anything about and that may or may not have happened. Because I didn't tend to be someone who went backwards so much. I tend to look forward into the future and try to figure everything out. And it's something that I've really had to play with and not had to. I chose to, and I continue to release my attachment to what I think things should be coming up and just allow them to be revealed to me. What I found with that is it's so much more fun. First off, I'm not worrying all the time because my intuitive self doesn't have to keep giving me feelings of worry to look at if I am focused on being present right now, listening within and following those steps. So if we go back and see how the emotions and feelings that we have, they're just information. And the more we can be mindful of those and noticing without judging ourselves for having them, the more exciting this is, because we can look at them and get the information and the guidance, and then we can let them go and move forward with our next best step that's being guided from within. I also like mindfulness because it is a very simple, wow, I just have two hawks just flew over us. Beautiful, really low too. Mindfulness, yes. So the other reason I love to teach about it is it's a very, very simple way to come into a meditative state. And a number of years ago, I wrote about, in a book put out by Transformation Academy, I wrote about from mindfulness to mindlessness. And what I meant by that was the more moments out of the day I can be mindful and noticing, then I can begin to just move through life, basically not trying to figure things out, just being guided from within. So mindfulness is a practice, it's a tool. It's a tool that can use, as we were noting, you could use almost all, or maybe even all, of the parts of ourself to be mindful, just like I kind of walked you through that walking meditation potential exercise. You could use all of those to come into that state of curiosity and then let go of the thoughts and then find your voice within. So I'm going to lead us as a closing into just a seated mindfulness meditation that uses that same type of process that I gave you for the moving, walking meditation. Now, of course, too, with the moving and walking meditation, you don't have to do it just walking. Many of my friends are dancers. It's wonderful to meditatively move. And I know, because I know many of you all, that you do that as well. And even if you aren't my friends that perform, you know, dance doesn't have to look like a performance either. Much of my dancing in my home on my own to move through things, probably we wouldn't want to see a video of it. Might be disturbing even at times. So I just want to encourage you that you know, moving meditation can be so many different things. So let's take this little exercise, if you like, to be mindful. This one is going to be a seated meditation, and we're doing that so that we can notice some of the different parts of the body as we're taking this meditation. And you're going to take a moment to sit somehow comfortably for yourself, yet tall. So I am going to engage my lower belly just a bit. I'm going to relax my shoulders. And then I'm just going to let my hands rest at my knees. You could have the palms open or the hands flat. You can close your eyes or you can take a soft gaze. It's totally up to you. And we're going to begin by taking a moment to have 3 deep breaths. So I am going to breathe in through my nose to the best of my ability, my tongue lightly in the roof of the mouth, and then I'm going to breathe back out through the nose a bit longer. Taking that a couple more times. And one more. Now, we're going to move through our different parts of our senses. So I want you, just wherever you are, to begin to notice anything you might hear right now. And then begin to notice anything you might smell. Right here in this moment. Then begin to notice anything you might taste in your mouth. Then begin to notice anything you might see with your eyes. And if your eyes are closed, you might just notice the difference between shades of light. And now begin to notice any physical sensations, like feeling the bottom on the chair or the ground, maybe how your hands feel resting. Even if there's any tension, just notice it, observe it, letting go of judgment, just having curiosity. Now we're going to go a bit more internal and just notice any thoughts that you have coming up right now. You might visualize them in clouds floating by the mind's eye. Again, observing, curious. They're just information. And now tuning into whatever feeling you have right now in this moment. Noticing, observing with curiosity. And then taking a moment simply to feel the breath in and out, bringing your awareness to how it feels to breathe in and breathe out. Could be a natural breath or a deeper one, it's up to you. And now we're going to lightly place one hand at the belly and one hand at your heart if you wish. And just listen within to any messages that might be there for you today, coming from deep within as I allow some silence for a few breaths. And then bring your hands, if you will, to a prayer mudra. Hands lightly together. Thumbs are going to rest at the heart. Again, the eyes could be closed or open. It's totally up to you. And we are going to bring some gratitude to all of the parts of us today. So, sending some gratitude to your physical body, appreciation, sending gratitude to your mental body for functioning so well for you, appreciation for your emotional body and the messages it gives you. Gratitude and appreciation for the energetic, subtle body around you. Appreciation for your self-expression and how that's developing and evolving. And appreciation for the true self within, divine guidance, inner voice that's always there guiding you. And now opening the palms one last time, taking a beautiful inhale in, and a nice exhale out. Being open to receive today whatever is here for you, knowing that you have everything you need within and you will be guided to your next best step. I hope you enjoyed that meditative practice. It was lovely to offer it to you all today. And it's been fun sharing this series with you. I'm sure we'll come up with some new things to share again. And if you're interested in more information about the meditation and movement workshop that's going to be coming up this Sunday, visit our website at hypniquestudio.com. Lots of cool meditative movement that we're going to be doing that night. And I hope you just have a really beautiful day. Continue to care for yourself, offer compassion and gratitude, and just mindfully notice what comes up. Thanks for joining me. See you all again soon.